Hello everyone. This is going to be a practice for dropping into the creative frequency. When we're in the creative frequency, we are very much in a flow with ourselves. That's the best way I can describe it. We are in this seemingly perfect flow with ourselves where we are so relaxed that we just simply allow, we can call the higher mind, to take root in us and to simply just guide us towards the renaissance of our expression. And I think when we have that kind of flow, what happens is that all of the thinking, doubt, fear, it just dissolves. And I think that's what a lot of the inner child is about. Right? We talk about the inner child, the young people, right? The kids being able to access psychic gifts that adults are desensitized to. Like kids have invisible friends, they can see deceased loved ones, they're very heightened. And I think because they're such in a flow, they don't have yet the kind of imprints of fear, doubt, thinking. And I think as an adult, we start to kind of imprint that in us, the kind of fear, doubt, thinking, because we start to have an attachment to rejection. I was rejected in high school, right? Or I was disappointed, or it could even be trauma, right? That we get attached to it. We take it very personally. Maybe because we don't have a tool. Maybe because we felt very vulnerable, maybe even naive, and we didn't have the wisdom to know what to do with that kind of harsh experience. Like, maybe we don't have the wisdom at the time, right? We usually start to get this attachment to this way of relating to fear, right? Which is usually like thinking and doubt. I think we start to get that kind of relationship as we, move into our 20s, and it gets more solidified when we're in our 30s. Like mid 30s, it gets pretty solidified, and gets kind of, people get set in their ways type of thing. But I think we take it very personally, and our experiences, and we even get very attached to them, and we don't know how to let go. And then when we try to reinvent ourselves, when we try to transform, it becomes very, like, we become stubborn. Or I'm sure we've heard someone who's had what do you call a hard head, someone who's very resistant, someone who's very stubborn, right? I'm sure we all have relatives. Usually, like for me, like it's like older people that I've noticed that, right? Like grandpa, grandma type of vibe, because there's so much calcification that it's like hard as a rock. It's gotten so hard because there's so many generations of just getting harder and harder. But I think when we try to get into that flow, there's a deep relaxation that we're having, right? A deep relaxation. And that relaxation allows the mind, we can call it the higher mind, the Buddha mind, the enlightened mind, right? We'll say, or just your liberation, right? Just liberation of yourself. We can allow that kind of place in the mind, that liberation place in the mind, to just kind of start to filter into our lives, filter into our perception, our projection. And when we filter enough of that liberation into our perception, into our projection, right, onto our external reality, what happens is that liberation, it just kind of flushes out what I would call poison, right? Which is the suffering. The thing in you, in the mind, It could be concepts of yourself, concepts of reality that create suffering. And usually for me, like, I think of like, concepts that create suffering has to do with something that feels stuck. You're stuck in something, you're trapped. I think a lot of times that's where we feel the most kind of suffering, is when we feel stuck. We feel trapped. This is how it is. We get very angry. We even destroy ourselves because we just don't see a way out. It's like we're in a room with no doors or windows. And the suffering is because we think that that's all there is. I am this person and that's just how it is. But the liberation of the mind is that part in the mind is what I would call the oneness consciousness, right? We talk about the oneness consciousness, right? In the spiritual community, right? And the oneness consciousness is that most liberated part of ourselves, that real sacred and innocent teaching that we can tap into, that's very childlike, very, very inner child type of thing. That is, it helps us to sort of decalcify the rigidness towards ourselves, open that up and start to see the self and other, right? Start to see that I am not this. I am many things. And I take on many karmas, but I am not those karmas. I take them on, but I'm shifting them. I'm shifting through them. I'm evolving them. I'm sort of returning them to this perfect emptiness, which we can call like that perfect emptiness of all the karmas that we've had, all these lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes, right? Is this place, we can call it like Dharma, right? Where it's like you brought your gifts, well, this is how I see it. You brought your gifts and talents that come from like a real basic essence of you, right? We all have gifts and talents. It's an extension, we can say, of our soul, that the essence of ourselves that is the most kind of, it's the Merkaba in which holds the projection, but we have the projection which can be influenced, or it can even be kind of interlocked, or even it can go through all kinds of different ways of relating to reality. But the Merkaba, I see it as like the soul energy that we have in this life, the next life, and all the lives that we go into. On this planet, maybe another planet. And that is the place of our talents and gifts that can show up in different ways, right? In one life it shows up this way, in another life it's this thing, and then, but it has a unique signature. Regardless if it's scientific in one lifetime and artistic in another lifetime, there's a signature to it, right? It's like I could be an author for a book, and then I can all of a sudden change and just be some rock star, right? Some like heavy metal, like rock star. But when I have a signature, like let's say I sign an autograph for my book, like that's total like opposite side, like total just like real like scientific or mathematical type of real heavy duty kind of book. And it's the same signature that I would write for the autograph for my book, on complete scientific like nerd, right, kind of vibe, right? And then the same signature for the heavy metal. It's the signature, it's your Merkaba that's unique to you and your journey, right? And we've all gone through different karmas and had different relationships and made all kinds of different decisions. And I think that's all kind of inside the very expansive mandala, I'll say, that is your signature that you created. Like we could create infinite amount of configurations with the mandalas, right? I'm sure there's so many. You can go on Google and just say mandala and just find so many different types, right? But they all have a basic sort of, right, of a structure, right? A blueprint. But they're all different. All of them. Even though they have the same kind of backbone, they're all different. It's because of the choices that were made, the decisions that were made, the shapes, the colors, the perception, the different configurations. And that's the same thing with us. But the thing is, like, a Mandela is like a two-dimensional expression of the real fifth-dimensional Mandela, which, you know, a lot of times we just see a Mandela like a poster on a wall, right? But really, the Mandela is like going into someone's like Merkaba, which is like a grid system of 360 senses. That is so like the north south, right? North south east west. It's so dimensional that just looking at a two-dimensional kind of, you know, Mandela doesn't even give it justice to really the expansion of what's going on in a person's soul journey, a soul journey. And when we have gifts and talents that are just, we've gathered and developed, right? It's that signature behind it that kind of really showcases that that kind of the essence of ourselves, and based on where we've been in our many lifetimes, the decisions we've made, right? And the kind of creativity that we've developed. Because even like your signature can change as you get older. Like when I was like young, when I got older, it got actually messier, right? But you can still see the kind of, essence of it, the uniqueness of it, the identification, no matter if you're 55 or 25, you can see it. So we want to get into that flow state of that creativity, right? That kind of inner child. And if we can relax enough, we can actually let the radiance, and which is the flowering of ourselves. Like when you smell a rose, right? Or you're in a field of roses, which is so delightful. It's like, oh my God, it just expands your radiance, right? So when we have that radiance, we can actually really open up we'll sensitize the Merkaba, sensitize the psychic gifts, so that we can start to really get out of, like, we can allow that liberated part of the mind to filter into our awareness, filter into our perception, our projection, allow any poison, like lies that we tell ourselves, like straight up, like lies. The liberating kind of filter system will just kind of drain out any poison that we've gathered. And I'm telling you, the poison that's saying is the suffering, right? That a lot of people deal with, such as I'm stuck, I'm trapped, right, in this karma. I created this karma, I'm stuck with it, right? Even in this lifetime, like, you know, people make pretty, you know, decisions, or ancestors or whatever it is, you know, made, you know, poor decisions. We were in a very malnourished state, a very aggressive state. We didn't have enough tools. We didn't have enough wisdom. We didn't gain enough merit of dharma. So then, whoop, what happens? We're in this real karma that it just comes at us, and it's like, whoa, right? And I think we can get really stuck with it. We can think that we're stuck, that we're trapped with it. But the great thing about connecting to that liberated mind, which we all can, and really relaxing into that, and really starting to get in a strong relationship with that, is that we can liberate any kinds of karmas we have in this life, moving into the future lives, even our past lives. But we have to be in the flow with it. We have to develop a relationship with it. If we think that we've been betraying ourselves, if we've abandoned that, which some people feel like they've abandoned the sovereignty of their mind, they've ran away from it, they've avoided it, they've denied it, they atrophied it, all these kinds of things. It's like a kid, right? If you've abandoned a kid, or if you've been avoiding your kid, or, you know, that kind of intimate relationship, you have to build it up. And if you have any kind of, you know, that kind of conflict with it that was created, it's not going to necessarily be easy, right? And that's where the sense of determination comes up, right? When it comes to building that relationship with your liberation, right? That liberated part of the mind. that enlightened part of the mind, that part of yourself where you really got to be humble, or you really got to be ability to not take things so personally when you see the karmas or these certain things coming at you, so that you can preserve enough energy. Because when you preserve enough energy, you can actually use that for the stuff that you really want to put your energy into. But when we're just spilling all our energy all over the place, it's like we really don't have enough preserved or, resourced energy to really put into the real big things that we're wanting to make happen, right? Because there's many things that we're wanting to really allow ourselves to water, right? But that takes energy. But if we're giving it all into the energy depletion of ourselves, which we see a lot when you're in the fear and the doubt, you just lose so much energy. It's like we have none left, right? But the thing is, the tool and the thing that can really completely just replenish our life force, right? If we're talking about really completely replenish our life force, is the habit of making the choice to challenge yourself to have more liberating moments. And the more that you have these liberating moments, like throughout the day, right? Let's say you have only one, and then you start to have two throughout the day, and then maybe you only have one a week or something like that. The more you train, and sometimes it's like sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm forcing myself, right? To sit down or meditate, or sit down and journal, or sit down and read a book, because we are so programmed to be distracted. So it's like a resistance, right? Because, especially if you live in the US, you're so tempted. You know what, I'm tired, and you wonder why you're tired, and you realize, oh, because I'm thinking too much. That's why I'm really tired, right? And there's times when we're actually legit tired because it's a full moon, or you're on your period, or you had a real stimulating day at work or school, and you just need to chill out, right? So your whole nervous system can just calm, right? But then there's the kind of I don't want to challenge myself because I just don't have the desire to want to improve my energy. Right? I just don't have the desire to want to improve my energy. So sometimes you have to really be honest with yourself, and really sit with yourself and ask, okay, liberating moments, what is that? And ask yourself questions, like a whole self-psychology thing, right? And then you start to have more sensations of that. It can even be like a meditation, like a sleep you do before bed, or like a meditation when you're eating food. It doesn't necessarily be yoga or actual physical meditation or mantra recitation. It could be like doing art. It could be like taking your dog to the park. It could be like you and your kid have let's say your mom and you have a daughter, and you do like a little makeup, not a makeup, like a whole spa day or something like that. But it's not so much the thing that you're doing, it's the choice you're making in the mind to make it liberational. Because we could totally walk our dog and just be scrolling on our phone just aimlessly, right? And not even be there. I think it's any moment can be liberational, even the moments that we think are the most why? It's just a programming, it's a training of the mind to see, okay, there's a karma here. Let me take accountability for it, even if I don't think it's my karma, or it's my mom's karma, or it's my grandma or my grandpa, or it's the society's karma, it's the religion karma. It's not my karma. I'm just wrapped up in it. And when you take accountability for it, because you're going to find that you start to be what we call a pioneer to that. You start to be the leader, right? And that's a real kind of energy. A warrior type of relationship with karma is very high creative energy. A warrior is seen as in the tribal times is seen as a really it's a high ranking position of we say enlightenment or of liberation, right? And I think when we have more of that choice, like, okay, I'm just going to liberate. I don't know how. I'm just going to put it in my mind that I want to liberate this. And sometimes it's just through having a vision of your success or having a vision of breakthrough, even on behalf for other people. Just envisioning their breakthrough, because that mind and that visualization that you kind of you drop into is very profound. And it shows in your arc line, it shows in your aura. When you do that for someone, it becomes very curative. Even if you hate their guts, or you're like, right? And I think when we have a better relationship with what we call our karmas, in a way of more of liberation than I'm suffering because of it, I think we start to really develop more energy, right? And more creativity, more courage, and even more character with it. And I think we get a lot more done when we come from that place. When we come from this place of like, I don't want to take responsibility, I don't want to look, I'm going to be very rigid, or I'm just going to shut down. I think it actually takes a lot more lifetimes to actually like move through these karmas that we have, right? And then we also get, when we create this place of suffering with whatever karmas, or you know, it actually we create a deeper attachment to it, right? A greater attachment to it. We get more kind of like, we take it more seriously. But when you come from this place of like accountability, it's a lot more of an opportunity for you to grow, rather than just, oh, I'm just like attached to it, like I'm bound to it. So therefore you feel like you have some kind of say over it. You have some kind of, you have a choice over it, what you do with it and how you want to move it. Even a choice to heal it and to completely just shift it. I think that's that's the creative flow when we drop in to that. It's like the kid, the child doesn't even, there's karmas all around the child. It could be the parents' karmas, and again, it's not negative. It can be negative, positive. There's so many karmas all around the kid, the inner child, right? The 5-year-old. But it's like the kid just moves through it, just glides through it without any sense of attachment or sense of like suffering with it. It's like it sees it there. Okay, I live in like, this type of, like, what is this situation going on here, this crisis? But it's like there's a sense of like, there's because there's such a liberated mind that's filtering in so frequently in the young child's mind, right? That any kind of poison or any kind of these poisonous thoughts that want to keep stuck or trapped, it's like the liberated mind filters so frequently that really the poison doesn't even have time to soak up. But as we get older, because we start to kind of get really serious, right? We get more earthbound. We start to feel more like we're getting more in the physical and less out of the spiritual, right? Right? When you're like 5, it's like they love to sleep because they're always in the spiritual realm, right? They're always in the spiritual, right? But as we get older, we get less in the spiritual, right? That's why we don't sleep as much. Like, kids, I mean, when I was like 5, I could sleep like like 20 hours, right? Like some days, right? Right? But as we get more human, it's like we start to feel more physical and less spiritual, right? Or what happens is we're an adult and we want to feel spiritual, or we're becoming way too spiritual, but in a way of checking out. That's very different. Like, I see adults and I'm like, whoa, they're like not even there. I'm like, where did they go? It's like they're in the spiritual realm, but it's not a real spiritual realm. it's actually um they're just in a they're just disembodied. It's like they're disembodied. They don't want to be here, so they're just kind of going into like an astral realm. Right? And I think it's different for kids when, they sleep a lot, like babies take naps, all this stuff. I feel like they're genuinely going to a higher dimensional realm. They're not going to the astral realms. I think kids go to an actual legit higher vibrational realm that's outside the earth grid. But adults that have that kind of like spiritual, but yet they're like really like there's something off. Right? There's like something off, right? You could just like there's something off. Like this person's not in their body, right? They're actually leaving their body because they don't want to participate because of the pain, and they're just literally just kind of floating around in the astral realm thinking that that's the but really that astral realm is not the it's just like earth. It's like you're still earthbound, but you're just not in the physical. So I think the astral realm actually makes it more challenging to actually get things done, like clearing karma and stuff. Because I think being in a physical body, you can get a lot more done when you're in the body, because the body gives you energy. The astral realm is you have more energy with the in the body, embodied, than just I just want to go in the astral realm and just kind of check out, because your body is the energy source you need to burn through the karmas. But when you're not using it, it's like you're disassociating with the body, so you can't utilize the body energy to burn through the karmas. So I think, again, with kids, it's different. It's like, when they sleep, it's like you can feel like their spirit. Like, you can feel it like when they're taking naps. Sometimes I watch kids take naps, right? When I, always working with kids. And I could feel their spirit. They're not checked out. They're not like going to some, astral realm. They're like in embodiment of this higher vibrational place that's not even of the earth. It's not an astral realm. It's not, no. It's a place what I call beyond the blue ether. It's like a place where I call the 10th gate, right? In Buddhist, or Buddha mind, right? It's like it takes you to that the 10th gate, which is like the gate that connects you to, it's like outside the blue ether. It's not the astral realms, it's not earthbound ancestral realms, it's actually something beyond the earth. We can call it like the Holy Spirit, right? Something that is like this pure source that has no karma, right? The astral realms is full of karma. It's just like spiritual karma, right? So I think when we're trying to get into that flow state, the creative, I think for adults, because we really like checked out, so we're not in the body. So it's like as we start to disassociate, actually becomes more challenging to get, okay, we're in the astral realm, but there's no real creativity there, because we have to go to a cleaner space, a more purified space. And I think the astral realm is not a clear space. It's like when you dream, like a lot of times it's like you're dreaming, it's just like a bunch of random stuff. But when you do like a meditation, it's like before you go to bed, it's like you dream and it's like this perfect, like clean and clear place. And it's because you've meditated the mind, you've gotten into a liberated point of the mind where you've reached beyond the blue ether, where you're in this kind of 10th gate, where you're starting to connect with more purified, pure information, that it does not have karma. It's a complete neutral place where everything has been transmuted into a place of the soul essence, which is the wisdom. When you're in the soul essence, you're in the wisdom, right? And I think when we become more embodied instead of disassociating, right, what happens is actually that kind of higher mind or that liberated mind actually starts to become more accessible. It gets closer to us, our physical form. So it doesn't, you don't have to like meditate very long or very deep to get it, to go out the 10th gate and retrieve and pull it in. It becomes something that you can just one breath and you can just grab it like it's right here. You don't have to go like reach. It's something you just, okay, it's right here. And that's what we talk about, the integration of that kind of soul essence, that wisdom that is like clear of karma, because it alchemized it into its creative fulfillment. It's a mastery of the karmas. So I wanted to share this discussion about the creative flow because I feel as we move more into the Aquarian age, we are going to be encouraged by the divine to get more in a creative flow. And a lot of it has to do with that liberation of the mind. We can talk about all the mind manipulation, deception, lies, the mind distortions and poison and all the confusion. And I think what's going to be the difference between a person who's in a creative flow and who's being like very transformative with their time on earth versus like being in this kind of chaos with the mind is the person who is in a creative flow with themselves and finding what that is for them. And I think again it has a lot to do with the dissolving of the fear and the doubt, because the doubt can, it's like it can show up in a way where we start to feel stuck, we start to feel trapped, we start to feel, okay, well, this isn't going to happen, or I can't get the fullness of what I want. So then we start to limit ourselves. And I think the real kind of inner child within us is like the most expansive, the fearless, the shameless part of ourselves. Like really asking for what we want, what we truly want. Like what, when if our 5-year-old self could speak right now through this body, what we truly want. And I think there's so many layers to it. And I think beyond just what we want as in like a house or a car, those are basic necessities. We need materialism because we're physical. We have to take care of ourselves. We can't be broke, right? And we're in a physical body. So those things are legitimate to ask for. Your inner child would be like, okay, I need a car because that's just something that I need, or something that it's just I'm feeling, a call to attract. Could be a new home as well. But I think as we go to more layers to it, there's even more to that. Like I think like when we really in the creative flow, it's like we're asking more of the right questions. We're getting deeper into like what we truly want, right? Than just, oh, I just want a husband. When you get in the creative flow, you start to like, it doesn't just, I want a husband or I want someone to love me or I want to love them. It starts to become even more expressive, even more expansive, even more like extraordinary in what you start to ask for. Like extraordinary, not just on behalf of like you, it's like becomes on behalf of the planet. What you're wanting, actually the expansion behind it, extraordinary, whoa, you want that, whoa, it actually becomes something that actually brings so much liberation to everybody around you, because you asked for something that is so expansive, that requires such a shameless, or such a like a real like whoa liberated mind to even think that or to call that in. It actually it releases everybody of limitation around you and gets everybody thinking in new ways, and it creates this renaissance within the community where all of a sudden all these people are starting to like ask questions about what they truly want and start to expand and go deeper, become more creative with it, instead of just, I just want a husband. It starts to become more creative. It starts to become more of wisdom, rather than I just want a husband or just want money. It starts to become more of a creative pursuit, a desire to want to see if you can really offer something to yourself or just to the planet, or just really manifest something that is going to give you some kind of creative extraordinary in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you express and articulate, in your perception, your projection. That starts to become so not just about you and what you've got. It becomes this kind of radiance that all of a sudden just everyone around you starts to kind of feel into this seeming futuristic kind of manifestation that you had, that was beyond everyone's sort of mediocrity or beyond the limitation that everybody's gotten accustomed to, and so much so that they think that's all there is, and stuck and bound and trapped in that. And you all of a sudden created a door within some seeming of a portal-less reality with no portals, right? And you created a portal, all of a sudden many people can follow in that wind trail through that portal to an even more expansive way of relating to reality that makes you feel more extraordinary in your creative transmission.